Hello, people. I have no idea what happened there. Apparently, I got blocked for copyright, which makes no sense, given that I was apparently my voice is now copyrighted by YouTube. If any of you who knows more about YouTube live streaming can tell me why that happened, I'd love to know because that makes literally no sense to me. So that what a great start to YouTube live streaming, guys. I clearly don't know what I'm doing. So give me some tips. Tell me what to do if I'm done something wrong there. Like, did you guys hear some audio from a copyrighted video in the background or something? You shouldn't have done. I don't think. I mean, yeah. Apparently, my voice is copyright worthy. I guess. We'll go with that. Yeah, I really don't know what happened there, but thank you for coming again. I think because you mentioned the Big Finish thing, they knew it was copyrighted. Wow. Um, what, the poster behind me? You think having this is a Doctor Who magazine poster, this one over here. That is from the 500th edition of Doctor Who magazine, I think. Hello Tom, how are you doing? It's been years. Nice to see you. But yeah, I don't know. Oh well, we'll roll with this for a bit longer and hope for the best because yeah, I don't know why it died, but oh well, we're back now. Peter Capaldi's copyrighted since birth. I mean, he should be. Yeah, I mean, it's fair enough. Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll try this again and see how we go because I do not have a clue what happened there. But hello to the 15 people who have joined now. Thank you for coming back to me because yeah, that was a bit sucky that it just all gave up on me straight away. Even when we had 18 viewers on the last one. Let's see if we can beat that with this new one. Right. What microphone am I using? I am using the Blue Yeti USB microphone on a nice arm. That is just plugged in via USB to my computer and sounds pretty good. Sorry if I don't look at the camera, I've got too many screens. Failwell stream got copyrighted. Oh dear, that's not good. Failwell's actually got subscribers as well, unlike me. Like you'd know it if he got if he was getting blocked for copyright. But there we go, it's fine. YouTube is especially weird right now. Cool. Okay, it's good to know. Have your uni exams been cancelled? Basically, yes. I was doing 3 modules and 2 of them have been cancelled as of the last week or two. So most of my course is being delayed until October, essentially. In the hope that obviously we're all back to normal by October. And part of the reason why I'm doing this stream is because we're all in lockdown and we've got nothing else to do. So I thought, why not? Let's come on the channel and do a live stream and just chat to you guys because it's good fun, you know, and hopefully your guys will. The 17 people watching now, thank you, will kind of enjoy it and watch it a bit. Right. Blue Yeti while wearing blue shirt. Yeah, you see. But then the microphone itself isn't blue. So I don't know if they're letting themselves down there or what. But yeah, I feel like that was poor design choices. If you can call it a Blue Yeti, maybe you should have made it blue. But that's just me. It does look pretty slick, though. I quite like it. I think it's quite nice. And it sounds pretty good. Well, I hope you guys think it sounds pretty good. Yeah. What else have we got going on over here then? How come you don't use that in your videos? So mainly because I have... Well, actually, why not? This is a live stream, so I can show you stuff. So let's do that. So obviously, I use a DSLR. There would be a lens on it, but I use a Nikon DSLR. And then I have a Rode video mic that looks a bit like this, that sits on top of the camera and then records my audio basically. And given that it's fixed to the camera itself, it's a lot easier than trying to position myself somewhere where I can stand in front of this and record with it. And I kind of have a bit of a mixture between doing videos that are audio only and also ones where you see my face. I know that's normally what I tend to do, and I've tried a few where I've just done the audio only, but it doesn't always seem to get as many views or be as interesting and engaging. So I feel like showing my actual self, thank you 19 viewers, showing my actual self I feel like will make people more interested and engaged, maybe, possibly. We'll see. I don't know, but that's kind of the logic behind it, basically. So yeah. So a couple of questions from Clacker the Geek. Hello, Clacker. Megan's back. You can, if you want to have a direct message with Megan Chalmers, the woman behind Megan Reacts, you can do it in the comments right now. But Clacker the Geek says, favourite classic and new series Doctor, and what other TV shows do I like? Well, favourite classic and new series Doctor. I think you guys probably know that Peter Capaldi is my favourite new series Doctor, at the very least. And that my favourite classic series Doctor is probably a kind of mixture between John Pertwee and Tom Baker and Patrick Troughton. I'm not very good at deciding, but one of those few. Because like the late 60s, 70s is definitely the pinnacle of classic Who at the very least. And I feel like the unit era in general is just a really top notch era of Doctor Who. So I'd pick that. What other TV shows do I like? I don't have any that I particularly religiously follow in the same way that I follow Doctor Who, frankly. Like, there's been drama. I always do like a good drama, so I might watch sort of ITV, BBC dramas. I always quite enjoy those. But there's really not any other shows that I'm particularly dedicated into. I did watch Broadchurch. Broadchurch was always a favourite of mine when it aired. Sherlock as well, I always used to quite enjoy. Obviously, Torchwood is a great show, quite frankly. But it's kind of hard to, pick out some specific ones. I've been watching Messiah on Netflix in the last few days because I've had nothing else to do, and it's all right. Wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but it's all right. It's okay. I just don't watch enough TV, to be quite honest with you guys, apart from Doctor Who, because I'm watching Doctor Who all the time, so I can't watch enough other TV, basically. Right, I'm getting loads of comments, so we better catch up on some of these. I've just watched Megan's video of her singing, and it's amazing. Why haven't I ever seen that before? I know, guys, Megan is a great singer. You should go check out Megan Chalmers' YouTube account for her great singing videos, and she will hate me for saying this. But there we go. I have no idea how I violated the terms of service. If you guys can tell me, then you're a better man than me. Hello, Megan. And somebody says, are the Daleks and the Jadoon going to fight in Revolution of the Daleks? I think it's a Dalek Civil War, would be my prediction for Revolution of the Daleks. Oh dear, Megan hates me. I'm sorry. I do apologise. But yeah, I think it'll be a Dalek Civil War in Revolution because given the filming pictures on the bridge and the Clifton Suspension Bridge with two different types of Dalek and seemingly kind of firing against each other, it seemed to look like it might be some sort of Dalek Civil War. So I don't feel like the Jadoon will actually be that involved because they've kind of done their job of getting the fugitive. They've got the Doctor, they've locked her up. That's kind of their job over and done with now. And I guess maybe they're managing whatever prison that is, but I can't imagine there's much more to it than that. Right, what else we got? Do I listen to Big Finish? Not massively, if I'm honest with you. I have listened to some of the free stuff that's on Spotify, like the Eighth Doctor Adventures and those kind of things, because they're quite good, to be fair. I do quite enjoy some of that, but I just struggle to keep fully focused on it when I'm kind of listening to it, unless I'm like driving and can actually sit and properly focus on it. It's kind of a struggle to actually keep focused on it and really zone in on it. Otherwise I just get a bit too distracted, I find. So yeah, it's not ideal really, but I do try and listen to some Big Finish sometimes. So will I be tuning in to the live rewatch of Vincent the Doctor tomorrow evening? I'm certainly hoping so. I mean, I'm personally loving the rewatches they're doing at the moment. The fact that we've got Matt Smith joining Twitter tomorrow just for this episode is quite exciting, I think it's fair to say. And the fact we've already had Day the Doctor and Rose and getting Stephen Moffat and Russell T Davies on Twitter is quite something, and really sharing some great anecdotes. I know they're like doing the prequel and the sequel and the new intro to Day of the Doctor. There's just so much great stuff. I love how like all the Doctor Who creatives and fans are all just coming together in these tough times and trying to give us stuff to really enjoy and like be excited about, I think, which is just really, really great. I've got a serious question. Every time I've seen people ask what software you use for your soundtrack videos, these questions go unanswered. Is this an EMS trade secret, or have you already answered it elsewhere? So, for nerdy people who want to know how I do the Doctor Who episodes of music or complete soundtracks, or whatever you want to call it, it is your lucky day because we've got a live stream, so why not? Let's talk about it. So, to do it, if I'm doing an older episode where I've got the DVDs already, I will rip the DVDs and extract the 5.1 audio track from it to be able to find the unreleased music section, because when you extract the 5.1 audio, it gives you 6 audio tracks, and there's 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom, which are predominantly music minus pretty much all dialogue and most special effects. There's also one that is dialogue only, which you can use if you want to get the unscored audio and things like that. So what I do is I extract those out of Audacity. I just dump the audio file or the video file into Audacity. It brings them all up together. Then I rip them out, cut them up, put some compression and stuff on them on Adobe Premiere Pro when I'm creating the video, and export it, and that's it. It's actually not as complicated and amazing a process, I'm afraid, as maybe it sometimes comes across as, because most of the work is already done by the way the episodes are mixed in the first place, and it means I'm quite limited on anything more I can do past that, essentially. So yeah, that's kind of the long and the short of it of what I do for 5.1 audio. If you've got more questions, do let me know and I'll try and clarify, but that's about the best way that I can explain that, really. What else have we got here? Do you think Jodie Whittaker could stay on for a 4th series? Series 14. Oh, I've lost that comment. There we go. I mean, I think the thing is that we're probably not going to get series 13 for at least 18 months. If not, with everything that's going on, it might push it back to early 2022, realistically. So I think that Jodie may stick around past that, but I feel like I'm not convinced we'll get a full series in 2013, for example. Not 2013, in 2023. We didn't get a full series in 2013, but also not a full series in 2023. I feel like we might only get an anniversary special, possibly, or something like that, and then maybe Jodie will regenerate there, or maybe the show will be rebooted or changed completely or something. I don't know. Maybe we'll get some big changes there. So maybe she'd stay on for a series 14, but I think the fact that in all likelihood you wouldn't get a series 14 for probably 4 years from now, it seems unlikely to me that we would still have Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor for a series 14. Right, I've got some messages on here, so I should probably have a look at these quickly. Oh, not particularly important. Cool. What other questions and comments have we got? For Daryl loves your singing, loves Megan singing. That's great. Richard Coleman. Yeah, Peter Capaldi is my favourite Doctor, and it's pretty great. But I also kind of agree, Joe, that it's very hard to pick a favourite, and sometimes kind of unnecessary. I have watched Torchwood. Yes, I've watched every episode of Torchwood multiple times. Me and Megan intend to, at some point in the future, watch this together and do a Megan React series on it. So hopefully that'll be something for you guys to enjoy. Realistically, it won't be until we finish watching actual Doctor Who, or like we finish watching New Who. So once I've done that, then we'll look to do some Torchwood from there. And I'm afraid they will very much be keeping weekly only for the time being. Though, actually, just to give a general update on Megan Reacts, at the moment, we have reacted to every episode up to Deep Breath, including Night of the Doctor as well. So I think I was looking at my schedule, and I've gotten Megan Reacts for you pretty much all the way through until June at the moment. So even though we're in lockdown, I'm not with Megan, and we cannot record any Megan Reacts at the moment. Thankfully, we stocked up over the last couple of months. Given what happened in Series 12, I felt it was important to try and get to Day of the Doctor before the finale, which we did manage in the end. I'm not sure how important it was, but we did manage it. So there's a massive stock of them there. So as I say, obviously it's Angels Take Manhattan next week, which is hopefully one you guys are excited for, to see how Megan's going to be feeling about that one. But yeah, there will be reactions already recorded, so I can guarantee all the way up to Deep Breath, and I do intend for us to do every single episode of the Capaldi era from there on in. But whether it follows straight on or not, I'm not quite sure at the moment, because obviously we're in lockdown and we don't quite know. I mean, I'd be amazed if we're still in lockdown in June, but you can never be 100% sure at the moment, I think it's fair to say. So that's just a quick update on Megan Reacts in general. If you've got more questions about that, please do let me know. But I also, as I say, am very much going to be keeping it only to once a week, just to ensure that, well, we can keep them going for as long as possible. And it just works best for me in terms of editing and time to be able to do it and things like that. So what else have we got? We've got always thought that Capaldi was the most doctorish of the modern ones. Yeah, I tend to agree. Richard. Stories let him down though. Oh, I don't agree with that. No, he's got some great stories. Nick Spriggs said something like it wasn't quite what you would expect from the title about Revolution Daleks. Yeah, I do remember seeing that quote somewhere, but I feel like he was being fairly coy about it. I mean, it could be a completely misdirecting type of title. I don't know, but it's possible. I guess we'll have to wait and see. I mean, we've got a long time to wait. Realistically, it's going to be Christmas. I feel more optimistic that we're actually going to get it on Christmas Day now, given what's going on in the world at the moment. There's not going to be much TV that's actually going to be filmed in time for Christmas. So I feel like it's more possible than maybe expected that Doctor Who will actually air on Christmas Day this year, simply because they don't have enough other stuff, unless they prioritise that New Year's Day is more important than Christmas Day. But it's definitely going to be one of those two. But I'm more hopeful now, yeah, that maybe, just maybe, we might get another Christmas special for the first time since 2017, I think. Sounds about right. Right, what else have we got? My earliest childhood memory. I've got no idea. Yeah, I remember watching Doctor Who in 2005, so I'd have been 7. But before that, I don't really remember that much, to be perfectly honest. Like, I have good memory, but not that far back. Yeah, once we get in that far back, it's a little bit of a struggle, and I'm not so sure that I'm going to be able to remember things from back then, really, unfortunately. So I will give up on that question, I'm afraid. I think the prison is Scargriff and Sharda. Yes, I've seen that theory as well about Revolution of the Daleks. It'd be quite cool if it was. I think that'd be really quite interesting, and just a nice little reference back to Sharda. Trains. Megan says that my childhood memory is train rides. Yeah, that is probably true, actually. Yeah, I spent my whole life on trains. There's a whole thing about my obsession with trains to an extent, but always just enjoying going on train rides as a child. So, yeah, that's the thing I did way back in when I was a kid. Always used to love trains, basically. But anyway, I hope they do a rewatch event for Heaven Sent. Do you think that'll happen? I've seen some hints from Emily Rosina that organises it that Heaven Sent sounded like it was coming. So I certainly hope there's a Heaven Sent reaction. Not reaction, a Heaven Sent rewatch. That would be really, really cool. I'd definitely be down for that one. What else? How are you and your parents coping during this lockdown? We are just chilling. Really, like, it's not much fun because you're stuck in a room on your own or in a house on just you guys, and you can't really go out and do anything much apart from maybe a quick little walk. But that is about the sum of it, so it's not great. Like, yeah, I wish it was better than this, but it's what we've got to do at the moment, unfortunately, and it's given me opportunity to make more Doctor YouTube videos, so that's what I hope you guys have been enjoying over the past few days, and hopefully for the weeks to come, I'm certainly intending to do weekly or daily uploads if I can manage it, and these things like these streams, I might try and bring in a little bit more often than just the very occasional one, but I don't know, we'll see, there's lots of plans to come. What's my favourite story from Season 14? Thank you, Blobfish123. I'm going to have to remind myself of the stories of Season 14, even though I basically know. I know the Talons of Wayne Chiang. There's Hand of Fear, there's Mask of Mandragora, there is the Deadly Assassin, there is Robots of Death, and the Face of Evil, I think. Yes, I did actually. I'm all right. Wow, that's pretty good. I'd probably say Deadly Assassin has always been my favourite. I am just purely a sucker for Gallifrey-based stories more than anything else. So I'm always kind of inclined towards that one. I think it's just a really good story as well, set in the Matrix and everything. It's always really exciting when I think that one. So I'd probably go with that. But I also do enjoy Talons of Weng-Chiang quite a lot. Obviously, there's lots of debate about the racial issues in that story. I think they're there. It's pretty obvious and apparent to see. But it doesn't personally spoil my enjoyment of the episode and the story. I can watch it as a piece that's of its time and a very, very good story fundamentally. So I'm certainly looking forward to it. I'm sure that's in reference to the Season 14 Blu-ray, of course, that's coming out, in theory, coming out in about 5 weeks' time. But I'm not convinced we'll get it then. I'm pretty sure it'll be delayed because I apparently the box sets, like the physical boxes, are produced in Italy, and clearly nothing's going to be coming out of Italy for quite a while. So I think it's unlikely we're going to get it on time, but hopefully at some point in the future we will get it. Right, we need Megan Rex to Torchwood. Yes, we do. I know we do, and they will be happening at some point in the future. Do I remember the Doctor Who Experience? Yes, I went to the Doctor Who Experience back in 2016. Yeah, I went there, and it was really, really cool. It was a really, really great place. I was so sad when they closed it down because it was just awesome. Like all the TARDIS sets they had there, all the monsters up on stands, all the Doctor's costumes and everything, and the actual like experiencey bit where you could go and sort of do this mini sort of story and stuff as well was really, really cool. Like it was such a good experience. The one thing I always kind of regret a little bit is I never got to do the TARDIS tour, particularly when the Capaldi TARDIS was in there. That was one that I always really wanted to go and see, but it never just quite worked out with timing. And I live a good like 4 or 5 hour drive away from where it was in Cardiff, so it's not the sort of thing I could just pop along to whenever I like. I very much had to be an organised thing with my family, but I can at least say I did go and I did take loads of pictures. I did have a YouTube channel back then. I was thinking about doing a video. I don't know why I never really did do one. But yeah, it was a really cool place, and I loved it. And it's a real shame that they shut it down. I think I'm really surprised in many ways that it hasn't come back at all yet, because it just seems an obvious thing. Like a Doctor Who is such a massive show with such a big following, to not have some sort of museum-y type place about it just seems a bit bizarre, really, in my opinion. But there we go. If they do a Capaldi rewatch, which one would you pick? I'd probably pick Heaven Sent. I think that's probably the best story to go for from his era. Do you think you'll ever go back to older episodes of music like Series 4? Also, how long does it take you for each episode in general? Yes, so I'm doing the soundtracks to every episode of Series 1 is my plan over the next 13 weeks in alongside my videos, looking back on each episode, the 15 years on videos, which I don't want to call them straight reviews because they're not meant to be. They are having review elements in there, but they're also a sort of more looking at the context around each story, kind of looking at the initial critical reception of it back at the time, and just any kind of interesting facts and anecdotes around the kind of production of the programme and the airing of it initially back in 2005. But yes, as I say, alongside that, I'm doing the soundtracks for episode for Series 1. At some point, I probably will do a few other episodes in New Who. It's not a short-term program. It's the sort of thing, it takes me several hours to do each one, and it kind of is quite a intensive process, so it takes quite a lot of motivation to kind of get them done, really. So it's not obviously with each new series. I'm very happy to do them because I feel like it's brand new music. We want to be able to hear it. But going back to the past, it's the sort of thing I will try and do a bit more from time to time. But it's going to be a while before I've really done a large chunk of the soundtracks. But I do know there's a lot of other stuff out there and other channels that have done unreleased music and things like that from past episodes. So if you particularly want a specific piece of unreleased music, it's worth going for a hunt around YouTube because there's quite a few channels out there that do a lot of that kind of stuff, which you can usually find the sort of thing you're looking for as well, which is always quite good. Oh, we've dropped from 28 to 23 viewers. Clearly, I'm just that little bit boring. What episode do you think should get a rewatch / live tweet next? I'm Home for the Doctor's Wife with Neil Gaiman. I think that'd be really cool to have the Doctor's Wife. I feel like we need to have a David Tennant episode next, probably. I don't really know which one, quite frankly. What would be a suitable one? Maybe something like Partners in Crime might be quite good. If they could get Catherine Tate on Twitter and do Partners in Crime, that might be quite fun. I guess, but it's not really her first story, so it's a little bit different. I don't know. I just think something like that might be quite good. As you say, I think doing the Doctor's Wife would also be quite cool. That'd be quite a fun one. And if you got Neil Gaiman on, I mean, he's already on Twitter anyway, but just getting him to live tweet that I think would be really, really fun and really interesting. Do you remember when people called you Edward and other names beginning with E? Yes, sorry, I did start to address this, I think, and then this is when my stream died. So maybe this was the fact nobody is allowed to know about my channel. That yes, for some reason people started commenting on Megan Reacts, calling me different names like Edward or Ethan or any name beginning with E that wasn't Elliot. If you were the original person who started that, please comment down below and tell me why. I enjoyed it. It was quite funny, but I don't really know why it happened and what caused it. I mean, I just don't really know. But yeah, so if you are that person, please post it below. I'd love to know and tell me why you did it. It'd be great fun. If I was the showrunner, wow, what? Oh, hang on, I'm losing my comments here. If I was the showrunner, what would the show look like? Would it be character / family driven, timey-wimey storylines, or Chibnall, whatever style that is? Yeah. I would say my overall favourite era of Doctor Who is the Moffat era. Over RTD and obviously over the Chris Chibnall era. Like, there's not many things I take out of the Chris Chibnall era to put into my version of Doctor Who. Like, I'm not a writer. It's not the sort of thing I would ever really particularly create a fan version of. Maybe for a video I'd do a little outline, but that's about it. I think I would take a lot of the Moffat era. I think I would go more down the timey-wimey storylines because that's always been the sort of thing that's really interested me. That element of playing with time travel, using this device that is the mechanism that's such a huge part of the program in such a fun and interesting way, I think is something always really, really cool to explore. So I think I would probably use a bit of that, but I'd also try and bring in a bit more of the kind of family-driven stuff that you talk about in the RTD era, because I feel like there were points where in the Moffat era there was sort of family stuff lacking in some of the companions and characters and things that I think could have been significantly improved upon. So I mean, I think it's always the way that a combination of all these eras would make the best overall program, but I definitely think I'd be more heavily leaning towards a timey-wimey Moffat style Doctor Who if I was doing it than an RTD one, and obviously than a Chibbers one. Always wondered, who do you feel is your Doctor? Your channel is great, by the way. Thank you, Tala Davidson. I think my Doctor is probably Peter Capaldi, because although I being a fan since 2005, around kind of 2012, I think maybe into 2013, I kind of became less of a fan of the program for a while. It just wasn't really doing it for me, and I remember I think most of Series 7B I didn't watch on transmission, and it's probably one of the few things that I really regret about sort of as a Doctor Who fan, was that kind of I fell out of interest with the show a little bit during the biggest year for the show ever, in the 50th anniversary year in 2013, and it meant that I did miss a lot of the sort of the events and things they did around that year and the sort of hype around things at that time, because I just wasn't that engaged in it. I think the thing that actually brought me back to it was a showing of Tomb of the Cybermen on Watch, a obscure TV channel in the UK that used to show some classic Doctor Who occasionally in the run up to the 50th anniversary. And I watched that, and it just kind of reminded me about how cool and great Doctor Who is as a program, like the classic and the new series. And from there, I binged like loads of classic Who, watched The Day of the Doctor, watched Time of the Doctor, and then was completely hooked on the show again, going into 2014 and the filming of Peter Capaldi's first series. And from there on in, as soon as Peter Capaldi came on screen, I just felt like he was the Doctor I kind of connected with the most. He was the one that really sort of struck really well with me, and one that I was just so engaged with. So I feel like that's why I would say that he kind of is my Doctor, even though my first one was the 9th, and probably as a 10-year-old I would have said the 10th Doctor, as I'm sure many kids would have at the time, because there was that just he was the childhood hero basically. And I've got nostalgia for that time, but I would probably say Capaldi is my favourite Doctor, the Doctor I feel is my Doctor the most. Richard Coleman, sorry, I'm kind of getting a bit behind here. I should probably speed up so I can actually get up to a bit more close to live with you guys. Capaldi's last series was great, though. I should clarify the Cora stuff. Let him down in my opinion. Love the season with Bill, apart from the 3-parter. Let's not give too many spoilers for Megan in case she's watching. I'm going to try and avoid going too deep into Capaldi era because she obviously hasn't seen that yet. But, well, I have very positive opinions of all of the series of Peter Capaldi's Doctor is the best I want to say about that at the moment. So as much as I'd love to talk below about Peter Capaldi's Doctor, I know Megan's probably watching and I don't want to spoil it for her, even if you guys have all seen it. My childhood memory was seeing my parents. Very nice. I think Big Finish were considering an audio rewatch thing, but they haven't decided how to organise it yet. Audio rewatch is quite difficult, I feel like, because there's nothing visual to see, but it might be quite interesting as an idea. My earliest memories in watching the War Games as it aired. Oh, the War Games, you watched it as it aired, that's cracking. The War Games is such a good story, like one of the pinnacles of Doctor Who, quite frankly, certainly of the black and white era of Doctor Who. Even though it's a 10-part story, it still feels thrilling and exciting throughout, bringing in the revelations about the Time Lords and Gallifrey at the end of the story as well. It's just such a cracking story that somehow you fill out 10 parts and yet it's always exciting and interesting. Yes, it gets a bit repetitive at points, but I feel like overall as a story, it really is just excellent. Are you more of an extrovert, an extrovert or introvert? If Megan is the opposite, how do you contrast between that? How very interesting a question. I feel like I and Megan would say different things. Oh, Megan is watching, but she can leave. No, Megan, you can stay. I'll just avoid talking too much about Peter Capaldi's Doctor, I think, is the important thing. Right. What was I talking about? I was talking about extrovert or introvert. I'd probably say I'm more of an introvert. Megan's probably more of an extrovert, but I feel like that actually complements us quite well, that we kind of bring out the other side of the person. So I bring out the introverted side of her, she brings out the extroverted side of me, and it kind of balances things out a bit, I think, which is always quite cool and quite fun, and I think makes it work, and we're doing good. Megan will probably comment otherwise in the comments below. No, I'm joking. But yes. So what other comments? DW Sibling really wants to know about the remember when people called you Edward and other names begin with E. Indeed, I hope you heard. If let me know if you didn't hear that bit, but I did mention about it. And Megan thinks I'm cool. Well, that's good. Right. What episode are you currently on with Doctor Who right now? Megan, as I said, we've just watched Deep Breath. So season 8, episode 1, and will be, once lockdown is done, carrying on with episode 2. And as I say, we've reacted to pretty much all the episodes from where you're watching now, which was Power of 3, up until that point, for you guys to enjoy over the coming weeks. I remember when it had the Matt Smith walkthrough, you appeared on a Dalek ship in the middle of a war between two different types of Dalek. Oh, was that one of the games that they did in the Matt Smith era that wasn't very good? I honestly don't really remember it. But yeah, something along those lines. Can't wait for Megan's reaction to the Capaldi era. I always thought his first season to be the most underrated series in modern Who. That's I do think Series 8 is quite good. I think there's a lot of quite good stories in there. Maybe as a whole series, it doesn't work, but I do feel like it's unfairly maligned at points by some people. There are criticisms to level at it, which I can totally understand, but I feel like as a series, yeah, it probably is pretty underrated. But then what other series would we say in New Who are particularly badly rated? Obviously, Series 11, and Series 12 is divisive. Personally, I enjoy it, but it's divisive. Series 7's probably quite lowly rated, and I tend to agree. It's probably one of my least favourite series of New Who, apart from Series 11. And most of the RTD era is pretty good, though, in general, so it's hard to say, I think, that any are particularly bad. Elliot, do you remember the name of the Dalek song that they used during the 50th? Do you mean the... I don't know quite what you mean. I mean, I know they use in one of the like Dalek Time War scenes, they use the Dark and Endless Dalek Night from the Series 4 soundtrack. So if that's what you mean, that is the song that's kind of like the Dalek theme, but with a bit more male choral vocals in there underneath it as well to kind of give it a little bit, just that little bit more oomph than the original Dalek theme. That's on the Series 4 soundtrack, and I'm pretty sure that's what they used in Day of the Doctor. All of Capaldi series are underrated. I agree. People don't like it, but I love it. Happy quarantine, everybody. Indeed. I hope you guys are all staying safe and doing okay at the moment. I mean, let me know where you are in the world as to how quarantined you are. I mean, obviously, if you're in the UK, you'll be in the same situation as me. But if you are in different places around the world, I'd love to hear from you guys where you are and what's going on for you guys in this fairly horrendous situation we are all in. Nobody wants Megan to leave, so that's good. Love the war games. Are you going to do anything to do with Torchwood? As I say, we are planning to react to every episode of Torchwood once we've finished reacting to all of new Doctor Who, and hopefully around then I'll also do some more general videos around Torchwood as a series. I've done a few in the past, but not very many. But I have done the soundtrack to every single Torchwood episode, so go check it out. I think they're in the Torchwood episodes of music playlist. So if you're interested in Torchwood music, there is every single episode in a soundtrack is on my channel that I did like 3, 4, 5 years ago. Go check them out. Right, the War Games was by far the best appearance of the Time Lords on TV. Very interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think that's when they had the most mystery around them and felt like a really serious kind of these ethereal beings who are completely above anybody else in society, but also not in a pompous way in the same way at that point, I think. So yeah, I can kind of agree with that to an extent. How did me and Megan meet? We met on the magical world of Tinder, as if you watched our Q&A, we did a long time ago. To be fair, it was ages ago. But that's how we met, and that was fun and cool and worked out pretty well. So if you guys are struggling, I would recommend. It's actually not as bad as some people say it is. War Games was our first Gallifrey story, wasn't it? Yes, it was. It was the first story. Well, actually, it was the first story to feature Gallifrey and the Time Lords, but it didn't call it Gallifrey at that time. I'm pretty sure that was the first mention of the phrase Time Lords, but they didn't create the word Gallifrey until the Time Warrior, which aired in 1974, very early 1974. That was season 11 of Doctor Who. John Pertwee's final season was the first time we actually got the word Gallifrey being used in an episode. It wasn't a Gallifrey story. It was just in reference to the Time Lord, to the Doctor's home planet, essentially. So even though we also saw it, don't go on Tinder if you're under 18. Sorry, guys. Yes, indeed, don't go on Tinder if you're under 18. I do apologise. We've got to keep this keep those disclaimers going in there. But anyway, yes. So even though the 3 Doctors featured Time Lords and Gallifrey, they still weren't. It wasn't called Gallifrey until the Time Warrior. There's a fact of the day. Yes, Tinder is an online dating app, basically. The Time Lords were so powerful in the War Games, only ever been diminished since then, again, in my opinion. Yeah, I can kind of see that. I think that probably the more we see of the Time Lords, the less good they are. It's one of those where it's just a race of people that can be interesting, but are also kind of, to an extent, boring political people. A sort of political race when we see it in stories like Deadly Assassin and Invasion of Time, which are ones I quite enjoy, but don't, I think, portray the Time Lords in the most interesting of ways necessarily. I think it's just fundamentally not that many interesting character traits you can give them as a race of people. But yeah, what else have we got here? Sorry, I'm trying to keep up with you guys. It was the first Doctor Who Experience walkthrough adventure. Oh, the Doctor Who Experience. I don't think I ever did that one, but that's good to know. That's really cool to know. Some of the Golden Apple reviews in America. I hope you're doing okay in America, even if it's a bit challenging with your president over there. But anyway, let's not keep it too political. Hi, EMS Productions. I have 7 days from work and I can't stop coughing. And what is your favourite series final episode? Oh dear, 7 days without coughing. That's not good. I hope that you are self-isolating if you're in the UK. It's quite important. PSA right there. My favourite finale to a series. That's a really tricky one. There's a lot of them I like. There's ones that I can't talk about yet because we're not talking about the Capaldi era on this stream because Megan is here. But in terms of the ones that I can talk about, I'd probably say Series 5, Pandorica Opens and The Big Bang, is always been a favourite of mine. And probably Series 1 as well, in Bad Wolf and Pulsing the Waves. It's such a brilliant... I'm muted, Megan. She muted. Well, I'm sorry, Megan, but I'm not taking the risk of it. Even if you can't hear this, I'm still not risking it. But yeah, I think Series 1 and Series 5 would probably be my 2 full-on favourite series finales, at least of the ones I can talk about. My favourite story from each Doctor, even if it's just off the top of your head. Oh, wow. Favourite story from each Doctor, we've got to go through all of them. But we'll come back to that question because that's quite a long, challenging question. And I feel I can see some comments about the Timeless Children, which is a fun topic of discussion. Right, what do you think is the most controversial and divisive finale to date? Last of the Time Lords, Wedding, A River Song, Hellbent, or The Timeless Children? The Timeless Children. I agree there were controversial aspects to some of those other ones, but I also think that The Timeless Children, I enjoy it, I like it, I don't have the problems with it that other people do, but I mean, you just had to look on any forum or any social media as soon as the episode aired. And the fact is they were using extremely controversial ideas. What's Richard? Oh, somebody read Richard. Yes. Okay, we'll get to that. Sorry. I need to stop getting detracted by the chat. I'm sorry, guys. But yeah, To the Time of Children is divisive because fundamentally it's using ideas that are really changing the law of the program. They are deciding that the Doctor was a little girl who could endlessly regenerate and is from some mysterious planet through the boundary in the middle of nowhere. She was the kind of initial creation of Time Lord Society, and that is a massive concept change and idea, and I can totally get that it's, for some people, is something that they don't like and they're not happy with, and like that's totally understandable. So I think it's impossible for that not to be considered the most divisive episode now, even if Hellbent, for example, did have some controversial elements to it as a finale. Which of the Doctor's companions would you most like to date? Well, Megan's already given you the answer to that in the comments below, so I'll let you guys read that. But no, it's not true. It's not true. Give the Audio Guys series Gallifrey a go. It's so cool. I'll have a look at that sometime. That sounds quite interesting. What is it about? Let me know. I had a theory, just a wild one after watching The Timeless Child, but what if Tecteun was actually Rassilon? So I haven't watched Classic, so I don't know exactly. I mean, given what happened in The Timeless Children, you don't need to have seen Classic Who, because it just changes everything from before Classic Who even started. I was considering that theory, and it's possible that Tecteun became Rassilon. I think it's another one of those sort of things that could easily be rewritten into the program at a later episode if Chris Chibnall wants to keep going down the Gallifrey route, because we don't know at the moment whether he's going to try and do more Gallifrey stories or focus more on the Time Lord and the past of the Time Lord and the Timeless Child and do all of that in Series 13 or beyond, or whether this is all he's ever going to do about it and it's just going to leave there and sit there, which would be maybe a little bit weird, I think. Right, we're nearly caught up now. How do you think the show would have gone if the idea of Gallifrey and the Time Lords was never used? That's a really interesting question. That's almost a question worthy of a video, but I'll give you guys a short answer, at least for the moment. I think that it was always inevitable in a show that runs this long, and for the Doctor to be some mysterious character from some mysterious planet of some mysterious alien race, that kind of no matter what happened, at some point they would have given him some sort of origin story or a race of people that he belongs to and exploring that planet. He or she, sorry, I know, but I'm just used to calling the Doctor he because he has been for many years. So I feel like if they hadn't gone down that route, that's the sort of thing that just would have naturally been explored anyway. Maybe just making him some normal alien wouldn't have been as interesting, I think, because like I'm not saying that the Doctor, him or herself, should necessarily be more important than anybody else, which is what the Time of Children has done. I don't hate that idea, but I also don't love it. I do, to an extent, feel like it makes sense for the Doctor to be from a higher race, a higher being, than just standard humanoid race, because they are like she can regenerate constantly, or not constantly, but has a regeneration cycle. They can withstand things. They've got two hearts. There's all that sort of metaphysical things about them that makes it necessary for them to be from a higher race of people, I think. So for me, it makes sense that was the sort of route they went down, and I feel like it would have been difficult to have just said, oh yeah, he's just some humanoid person that's kind of powerful, or got some kind of talented body, or I don't know, I can't even get my words out, but the fact they can regenerate, I think, just sort of makes it so hard to not imagine that idea of where we'd have some sort of race of higher people like Time Lords, I think, in it. But anyway, that, as I say, that might be something I do for a video in the future, because that's really quite an interesting idea, actually. Here is a challenge for you. Megan reacts to an audio adventure. That would be challenging, and I'm not sure Megan would want to do that. Indeed, Tom, we've hit 30 viewers at one point. Thank you. I hope you're doing all right, Tom. I haven't spoken to you for like 3 years. I'm really sorry. We should hang out sometime. But obviously we can't right now because lockdown. Fatum Shook, it's a great name, who says, I bet if Tennant had made The Time of Children, we'd have heard for far fewer complaints. Yes, probably. I think the Chris Chibnall combined with Jodie Whittaker is a divisive combination that, as soon as a female Doctor was announced, split the fandoms to a large extent, and has only proceeded to do that more so, I think, since then. And with the way Chris Chibnall has chosen to write the show, particularly in Series 12, has kind of caused even more problems than that. So I feel like, yeah, it probably would have been less controversial with David Tennant, and if it was done 10 years ago, for example, than it is now. But all these if, buts, and maybes of Doctor Who that we could imagine. And yeah, I tend to agree. I do tend to agree. If the Doctor Who experience was still open, I wonder if they would have done a walkthrough adventure featuring the 13th Doctor. Probably, yeah. I'd imagine they would update it for the 13th. I know they did one with Capaldi. Did they do one with Matt Smith as well? I can't really remember if they did one with that before him. I was kind of probably too young at the time to really know and think about it enough, quite frankly. Chris Chibnall is honestly doing much better than Stephen Moffat. The Timeless Children is much better than Hellbent. Oi, there's a controversial opinion. I'll do a video about that one day, talking about those two stories and what I think about them and all that. As I say, we're steering clear a bit of the Capaldi era at the moment, but yeah, that's one that will certainly get talked about at some point in the future. Can't stay about once, just want to say hi. Hello, Umar Sadiq, if you're still here. Hello, thank you for coming and joining for a bit. Hello, Elliot Jedras, another Elliot. The superior name is always great. Doctor you most want to meet. Well, I've already met Peter Capaldi. As you guys, some of you will probably know if you've been the OG on my channel for like years. Just over 4 years ago now, back in 2016. The Series 9 DVD signing in HMV in London, I met Peter Capaldi. There's a picture on my Instagram, and I did a video about it on YouTube years ago. So I wouldn't pick him, but I probably would pick maybe Tom Baker, quite frankly. I feel like he'd just be such an interesting man to meet. And given he's getting on a bit as well, there's probably not that much more opportunity to meet him. I think I'd probably go with Tom, just because I'm not that interested in meeting Matt Smith or David Tennant as so much. Probably for me, it would be Chris Eccleston or Tom Baker would probably be my first two choices, I think. Are you worried about Series 13 being delayed? Yes, I think there's a good chance it will be. We, as was confirmed by some of the producers of Doctor Who at a convention, I think back in February or start of this month, something like that, they said that they were intending to start filming in September for Series 13, which implied most likely that it would therefore air about a year later in September 2021. But I think given the current situation with coronavirus and everything that's going on, the fact that it's brought basically the whole creative industry to a complete standstill, I mean, it's brought everything to a complete standstill, but in particular the creative industry, nothing is happening at all. There is not a single, pretty much, there's not a single film or TV program being filmed right now. And I feel it's unlikely that in the short term we're going to get that fixed. Maybe it's possible that we'll be in a better position by September, but it's possible they might have to delay filming until the start of next year, for example. So it wouldn't surprise me massively if ultimately Series 13 doesn't air until kind of January, February 2022. So unfortunately, around 2 years from now, it wouldn't surprise me, just because I think with everything that's going on, it really could be that challenging to get things done, I think. What do you think about the theory that the Master is the Timeless Child? I mean, we know he's not, but if he was, how do you feel about that? I would prefer that. I think it would have been better if the Master was the Timeless Child, and it would have made a bit more sense. I don't hate that the Doctor's the Timeless Child like some people do. I'm fine with it. It's something I'm accepting, and it's okay, but I feel like it could have been more interesting if it was actually the Master all along who was the extra special one, and that's why he's been like he was and wanted to rule everything, because he actually was deep down the special one or something. I feel like that could have been quite interesting. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like, yeah, I agree. That's something that maybe I'll do a video about that again at some point as well. But that's something that could really interesting to me as well. I mean, there's so many videos I could do about the Timeless Children, because there was just so much that came out of it. And so as we go through this potentially quite long hiatus, I may well do some more things like that at some point in the future as well, for you guys to look forward to. By the way, it was me who started the names beginning with E thing. Do I deserve a shout out? Now, yes, DW Sebling, you started the names beginning with E. Tell me why. Why did you do it? It was really funny and entertaining, and I was having fun looking at it with Megan. But why did you do it? I'd love to know. Was there a particular reason, or it just was a fun thing to do? But it was really cool. Since the 25th of March this year was Patrick Troughton's 100th birthday, can you and Megan react to the animated Power of the Daleks episodes? So I do occasionally get a few comments about reacting to classic Doctor Who. It's something that we will potentially look at some point down the line. Realistically, Megan is not going to sit with me and watch the whole classic series all the way through. Like, she's a fan of Doctor Who. She's enjoying Doctor Who, as she would tell you and will tell you in reactions. But also Classic Who is another step up there, in terms of the kind of dedication and devotion you have to it, and the sort of storytelling that's used in it. And so it's highly unlikely, I'm afraid, that we will ever properly react to Classic Who. I do have the idea of at some point in the future, certainly after we finished all reacting to all of New Who, of reacting to a story from each Doctor to at least give her a flavour of what each Doctor was like through the classic series. So at some point I'll ask for your guys' requests on what story from each Doctor you'd like me to do the most, and hopefully I'll be able to put that together. But that's probably the limit as well. And obviously, given lockdown, it's impossible to do any more reactions anyway at the moment, so I'm afraid it's unlikely in the short term at the very least that we'll be doing a Power of the Daleks reaction. I'm very sorry. But Ryan Pollard says, are you still okay with the Doctor's new origin story? While I'm willing to accept inclinations before the first Doctor, I still prefer Hartnell being the first and original Doctor. That's a very interesting question, again, that is quite challenging. I kind of have gone with the opinion of I don't dislike it because I still consider William Hartnell the first Doctor in the same way, even though he isn't ultimately anymore the proper first Doctor. He's the first Doctor that the Doctor can actually remember. He's the first Doctor who I think would have actually been called the Doctor, because there's no reason for the Doctor to have been called the Doctor before they became the Doctor. I know this is getting really confusing. And given the fact that the first incarnation or the first timeline of the Doctor, they were mind wiped and made to become a child again, in my headcanon, they were given the 12 regeneration limit put on there, hence why Time of the Doctor still makes sense and works. And therefore, for all intents and purposes, William Hartnell is still completely the first Doctor. Now, maybe people will say, I'm an apologist for trying to defend it, blah, blah, blah. But that's kind of like the headcanon and the way I'm justifying it and being reasonably happy about it, I think is the best way to say it. Richard Coleman says, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm really enjoying this. It's actually really good fun. I'm pleased. And there's 31 of you, which is cool. And you're all posting great comments, and I'm really enjoying this. So I'm definitely going to do this again because it's actually quite good fun. I mean, I'm sorry my camera's not very good. I know it's not very good. I just haven't really got the money to spend 100 quid on a decent webcam at the moment. But hopefully the audio is good, and that's kind of more important when you're just seeing my face and not much else. I've got to go, but I enjoyed what I saw, and if you do post this, I'll be catching up on it. For Daryl, thank you. Thank you very much for joining. Do you think Matt Smith should have gotten a Master? Yes, it would have been nice to see Matt Smith against the Master, because he's kind of the odd one out that didn't get a Master, apart from the Ninth Doctor, Christopher Eccleston. Him and Matt Smith have been the only Doctors, I think, not to meet the Master since the second Doctor met. Did the second Doctor meet the Master in the 5 Doctors? I can't really remember, but pretty much every Doctor has met the Master except 9 and 13, and 9 and 12, even not 13. Obviously had that for series 12. So yeah, I think it is a shame that Matt Smith never got to meet a Master. I don't know, maybe that's something that can be retconned in a multi-Doctor special at some point in the future, maybe. But I don't know, we'll see. If Matt first, then they updated it with Peter Paddy. Yes, they did. Yeah. Yes, you're right. Thanks. That's the song I was thinking of. Oh, well, there you go. I'm happy I could find the right piece of music for you, Vanessa. It is a great piece of music for the Daleks as well. It's such a heavy, booming piece with those male vocal choral sort of pieces added on to the normal Dalek theme. They feel like such a deadly presence. Villain, I think is great. Paul Andrew asks, will I use my old Capaldi intro for Megan Rector Capaldi era? That is exactly something I was thinking of doing. Yes, I will be bringing it back. For those videos only, I will be bringing back the Capaldi intro. If you guys haven't seen this, I won't spoil it, but you'll have to either go and look at the video from about 3 years ago on my channel, or wait for the first Capaldi Megan Reacts for a very special Peter Capaldi intro to my YouTube channel. The Time Lord costumes were nice. Yeah, I agree. They're a little bit wacky, but I've also always quite liked the Time Lord costumes. The headpieces are maybe a little bit silly, but they're meant to be like royal people, basically. So I feel like the kind of over-the-top royal gowns and stuff is kind of making sense for them as a race of people, really. At a convention, I went into Milton Keynes. They had Tom Baker, Peter Davison, Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy, and Paul McGann. Got to meet them all in one day. Oh my days, that's amazing. Like, if I went to that, I would die, basically. Like, meeting 5 classic Doctors in one day in one convention. That is crazy. I would love to do that. Not gonna lie, I'd absolutely love to do that. I'd like to meet David Tennant at Comic-Con if he was there as a guest. Yeah, it'd be really cool to meet David Tennant as well. Which Doctor would you and Megan most like to travel with? I'd like to travel with either the 4th, 9th, or 13th Doctors. I mean, I don't know. You'd have to ask Megan about that. I don't really know. I never really thought too much about if I was going to be a companion who I'd travel with. I don't know. It's just never really something I particularly thought so much about, to be honest. Favorite type of music or favorite artist/band? So I, as you can probably tell from my channel, I'm quite a fan of, firstly, soundtracks and TV and film scores, but also kind of instrumental music in general. I quite rarely listen to music that actually has words and lyrics in it, because I just love instrumental and orchestral stuff. But my favourite artist of all time, some people might know it, but is Olafur Arnalds, the Icelandic composer who composes some fascinating kind of neoclassical type music, I think you'd probably call it, where he uses these really interesting self-playing pianos in his music. The one thing you might know him from is he was the composer of all the music to Broadchurch. So if you've seen that, that'll give you a flavour of his sort of music. And he's been my favourite musical artist for about 5 years now, I think. Like by a mile, he's completely my favourite. So yeah, he would be the number one for me. You reckon the next Doctor will be male or female? I think if they go back to a male Doctor, I think Jodie Whittaker will be viewed as a mistake, and I really don't want that. I agree. I think it's imperative that the next Doctor is female to not give the impression that a female Doctor was a one-off and a mistake, and therefore we're going back to the norm and the correct way of doing things that is a male Doctor. Because in my opinion, it's great as a female Doctor. I've never had a problem with that at all. It's always been something I've been very comfortable with. And I do think that people will view it like the angle on it will be very bad if we go straight back to a male Doctor after this one. So I feel like as much as I think after that, then it's completely open. And I think going down the line from that point, the Doctor can then be whatever gender. And I think it's fine to choose whatever from that point. But I really feel the next Doctor needs to be a female, just to make it clear. I know we've had the Ruth Doctor, who's kind of a female Doctor, who is a female Doctor and is kind of the Doctor already, but whether we actually get much more of her character, and she's obviously not going to be the next incarnation of the Doctor. So, yeah, I feel like that's really something very important. Why the sunset? I don't know. I didn't know your name, so I guess then it was born the E-names. Fair enough. That's good to know. DW Siebling, thank you for finally enlightening me on what that was really all about. Joe Horror recently got my first Titan comic, the 8th Doctor one. I've never really been into Doctor Who comics as much. I don't know, maybe I'm just not that much of a comic book fan, I'm afraid. I think it's something that maybe at some point I'll look into a little bit more, but there's some really cool ones out there, and I have kind of glanced over some occasionally. But yeah, I don't know. It's the sort of thing that just never quite clicked it with me. Right, we've got a few more comments about the Timeless Children, among other things here that I'm trying to keep up with. I'd have preferred Chris to do the Doctor as the Timeless Child as maybe a mutation at their birth, but Gallifreyans had some sort of regen power prior, but the Doctor had full regeneration power. Yeah, that's quite an interesting theory. I think there's many, many different ways that the Timeless Child could have played out that could have been better than what we actually got in Timeless Children. But ultimately, that is what we got. Do you think Chibs will explain the fugitive story in Revolution of the Daleks? I don't think there's that much necessary to explain, unless you mean like the whole Commander Gat and the Doctor being the fugitive and stuff. I think what we're meant to read between the lines from what was explained in The Timeless Children is that obviously the kind of pre-Hartnell version of the Doctor was employed to this thing called the Division that was basically getting the Doctor to go and do dodgy things to try and for the Time Lords, that was kind of on the down low, nobody talked about. We don't really know what they were, but bad things. And once we get to the Ruth Doctor at this point, she's decided she doesn't want to do that anymore. That's why she talks about how she's in a job. She's got into a job that she can never leave. And that's why she's the fugitive, because the Time Lords are trying to bring her back again, even though she's rebelling and running away in her TARDIS. So I feel like that kind of completes that arc, and that's what Gat's trying to do. She's trying to get her back for that reason, because she's part of the Division. So I don't think there's that much to explore, particularly in it in Revolution of the Daleks, but maybe it's something for a future series for them to explore the Division a little bit more, and would maybe give up more opportunity to reuse the Ruth Doctor more heavily in the series, because I think it would be a real shame if we never see the Ruth Doctor again, given that she's had one episode and 3 minutes of screen time, and that's it, for a basically incarnation of the... I mean, yes, The Timeless Children had about 50 incarnations of the Doctor in it. I mean, yeah, there's a controversial topic in itself. But I feel like seeing more Ruth Doctor would be really, really good. I'm one of those who likes to believe that the 13th Doctor gave the corrupted Matrix a piece of her mind, literally, and that William Hartnell is the first Doctor. Fair enough. I mean, I do like to think that William Hartnell is still the first Doctor, just that there was a lifespan before that doesn't matter anymore and is not remembered by the Doctor, but did exist beforehand. It would make sense if the Master was the Timeless Child, an abused and twisted product of the Joseph Mengele style experimentation of this nasty Tectean character. Exactly. That's why he would have been all a bit unhinged and crazy, because he's been experimented on to try and extract the regeneration gene, and it turns out he's extra special. It would just make so. I just think it would be a really, really good story if it had actually been the Master. But there we go. Bring back the Slither. I assume you mean the one from Dalek Invasion of Earth. If so, yes, definitely. Of course, we want that terrible costume back in Doctor Who. Of course. You're my favourite YouTuber. Thank you very much, DW Siebling. It's great to know that some people actually like me as a YouTuber and enjoy the things I have to say. And I'm correct, the first and second Doctors haven't met the Master. That's good to know. I love the Five Doctors. Five Doctors is great, isn't it? Have you got any of the new action figures? I haven't, no. I've never been... Well, I was as a child, but since then I've kind of not really been somebody who's into collecting the action figures. Not because I have anything against it at all. Like, it's so great that people who are like have these massive collections. I know David, who's guest on my channel, of course, several times, friend of the channel, has got a massive collection of them, and is such a great fan of that. I know loads of you guys out there are, but for me, it's just never been something that I've quite been so engaged in. For me, it's always been collecting the Doctor Who DVDs and Blu-rays has been something that I've been big on. You can probably see over my left shoulder, there is all of the Doctor Who The Collection Blu-ray so far, including Season 12. I have Season 12. I got the original Season 12 that's apparently worth £400 now, but they have just done a reissue of it, so hopefully that's gone down a little bit. But yes, as Richard Coleman says there, got my Season 12 Blu-ray yesterday. I saw that a few of them. Stephen Moffat got his Season 12 Blu-ray because he didn't have one already, which is a bit crazy. But yeah, my thing is collecting all the Doctor Who DVDs and Blu-rays, the Steelbooks, the collection Blu-rays, and all those kind of things. Always been the sort of thing I'm very into. If you want to see any of those, by the way, Like, if you're like, I've never seen that particular steelbook or that collection box set or whatever, let me know, and I will try and show you them, and you can have a little look at them. And I might also have a little discussion about the season 12 soundtrack as well, because I already have it. Right, I should have an Instagram account, especially for EMS Productions. I was thinking about that. And would you guys like to see me do an Instagram account where I post about new videos and just Doctor Who generally? I thought it might be a cool thing to do. I know that Ace Creeper did it at the start of the year, and it seems to have gone quite well. So it might be the sort of thing I look at doing in the near future, if you guys want to see it, that is. Do you think Jodie Whittaker and her era would have been universally accepted more if she had a different showrunner? In my opinion, no. I think that Chris Chibnall has not done a great job as the showrunner of Doctor Who, but I also think that a female Doctor was just fundamentally divisive. Because you remember, I think the split happened as soon as it was announced. It was irrelevant. Chris Chibnall was basically an irrelevance at that point. We knew he was writing the programme, but we didn't know what it was going to be like, and it was kind of irrelevant to the announcement itself. So I think that the fact that there was a female Doctor is what split the fandom more so than Chris Chibnall, but then Chris, particularly in Series 12, but Series 11 by being mediocre has made it worse, and then Season 12 by being very controversial has made it worse as well, and the fandom is in an interesting place at the moment, shall we say. Do you think the classic Blu-rays will also be delayed? Yes, unfortunately, I do. I mentioned earlier on, but in case you weren't there, I said that I think the Season 14 Blu-ray, which is set to be released at the very beginning of May, I'd say it's highly, highly likely to be delayed, more than anything else, because the physical box sets are produced in Italy, and as I'm sure you guys all know, it's not impossible that anything's coming out of Italy right now. So as much as I'd love to get it, I think it's unlikely that we're going to be getting it until maybe the autumn. I don't think it'll have any longer-term impacts on us getting all the collection Blu-rays, but I feel like it might kind of push back everything by a sort of a release or two. So we might only get Season 14 this year, or we might get the next one right at the end of the year at Christmas time, which is rumoured to be Season 20. Peter Davison's second season. I've seen the rumours going around on the forums about that, which I think would be quite exciting if it does come out. But yeah, that's just a little thought there. Have you been taking part in the Doctor Who rewatches? As I mentioned earlier, yes, I have where I can. I did watch a bit of Rose, and I'm trying to, but I don't always have the time in the evenings to be able to do it. Would you guys like to see me doing videos around them as well, whether it be live streams or reviews of some of these episodes that they're doing the rewatches for? Is that the sort of thing you'd like to see? Do let me know again in the chat. Just asking because I'm not sure. Has Sagan uploaded Series 12 music on Spotify, or will he upload it on Spotify? So, although I've got a copy of it, I will go and grab it so you guys can see it. Here we go. This is the Doctor Who Series 12 CD soundtrack. So it looks quite nice. It's got the nice little stripe there across it and on the back as well. Looks quite cool. 2-disc box set. Got the Doctor on one disc. Sorry, it's upside down, but there you go. And the Master on the other disc. And then the booklet there and the two Doctors behind it. And just because you guys might be interested in this, because I know some of you are fans of the soundtracks that I do. The booklet doesn't really have that much of interest in it. He's got a little sort of a general kind of forward to the little booklet, but there's not really much else there that tells you much about the creation of the music itself, particularly. If you want to know specifics about what's included on which track or what, let me know in the chat again, and I'll try my best, because I've listened to it sort of several times now, and I intend to do a review of it, which hopefully will be out tomorrow for you guys to enjoy. But yes, it will go on Spotify, hopefully on Friday, which is when it's officially being released. Silver Screen just sent it out really early, about 2 weeks early on this occasion, so I actually got it last Monday. So yes, it's a soundtrack that's really worth listening to. It's a lot better than Series 11, in my opinion. It's a cracking soundtrack, so do check that out on Spotify come the end of the week. Right, what else have we got here? I'm sorry that I'm like 5 minutes behind on your replies to my things here, because I just can't keep up with all those comments. I can't believe I've got so many comments. It's great, you know. Right, I got to do the Doctor Who Experience set tour. Yeah, it was great. I wish I could have done that. This may be too broad of a question, but what are your favourite music moments in Doctor Who? Not necessarily the tracks themselves, but their use in the episode. Oh, by the way, Paul Android, just do want to give you a shout out, because I love your videos. They're cracking. Where you do your like piano recreations and synth recreations of some of the soundtracks, and then do it all like performing in costume and stuff. It's brilliant. I love it. I think actually, apologies if I got the wrong person there, but I'm pretty sure that's you. Tell me if it's not. But can I click on your channel? Oh, I can't click on channel on the down here. That's a shame. Because I would love to go and have a look and check for myself. Plus, my laptop is lagging badly. But anyway, my favourite musical moments. This is an idea that I think I'll probably do a video on at some point in the future, because I feel like it's a bit more interesting for a proper video when I can really think about it. And I was trying to think about musical moments. I think that musical moments can become more of a moment retrospectively once kind of like a theme, for example, is reused multiple times. Little things, for example, like in Rose, when Rose first steps into the TARDIS, the musical cue that's used is actually a variation of the Doomsday theme. So once you've watched the first 2 series and then go back, it's really, really interesting, because obviously it's the theme for when Rose leaves, and we're seeing it right at the start. I just think it's something quite interesting there. So there's some moments like that retrospectively do it. In terms of moments that kind of were really good, I don't know. It's one, like, I love so much Doctor Who music. I think the moment that we see the Time Lords for the first time in the End of Time is a cracking moment. The music really works really, really effectively there. The music in the End of Time Part 2, when the Doctor, the celebratory music when the Doctor is seemingly succeeded and is victorious, and then that moment when the music kind of has been so exciting and so positive and then just completely kind of zones down and sort of crashes basically in a really slow, turning into something so sinister as it fades out to the 4 knocks. It's such a really brilliant moment of music, I think. And the Waters of Mars, when we have the musical moment when the Doctor is walking away from the base as they're all being infected and killed, and you get the sort of mixture of the kind of Doctor's theme, the Bad Wolf theme, and all those interesting sort of bits of music mixed together there. And then suddenly you get the real oomph of the alternative creatures, I think it is, when the Doctor kind of decides he's going to come back and help. I think that is a really cool musical moment as well, a really effective musical moment. It's one of those things I'm going to have a good think about for a video, because I haven't really given you a great answer there, and I do apologise, but it's one I really want to do a proper video of, and I think it would be something really interesting. So thank you for that, and it is something that I will explore a bit more in the future. Wait, what? Self-playing pianos? Yes, so go look up Oliver Arnold's and look up Stratus pianos. I don't fully understand it, but it's basically pianos that can be programmed to kind of play themselves, and you can kind of control it, and then it can create really unique sounds of kind of pianos playing in really weird and unusual ways. So go check out a guy called Oliver Arnold's, who kind of pioneered and created that technology. I'm not really good at explaining it, but that's the sort of thing that is really worth and interesting in having a look at. Ruth Emily Police Block TARDIS, that is an interesting thing as well. This might sound like a stupid suggestion, but one song I'd love to hear in Doctor Who is the Spice Girls Stop, mainly because the lyrics, "Stop right now, thank you very much, I need somebody with a human touch, hey you, always on the run, gotta slow it down baby, gotta have some fun." Those lyrics make so much sense. It's the sort of thing that RTD would have done. I don't think anybody since then, I mean, Chibbers did do it obviously a little bit in Series 11, but I don't think really he's going to include a track like that. But you think about the iconic moments in The End of the World when Toxic turns up, for example. It's the sort of thing RTD would have done, and I think it could fit, but I'm not convinced they'll do it again in Doctor Who in the future, or unless there's another new showrunner, of course. Do you think they'll do another multi-Doctor story soon? I think they probably will for the 60th anniversary. I feel like it would make sense to do a multi-Doctor story for the 60th anniversary, because why not do it, sorry, I'm just adjusting here. It'd be fun, it'd be good fun to do one. I think it would it'd be an opportunity to bring back Matt Smith, bring back Peter Capaldi, bring back David Tennant, maybe finally convince Chris Eccleston to come back. I don't know. If I could choose, I'd probably choose Capaldi and Eccleston. If I was going on a New Who, maybe a cameo from Paul McGann as well, or some sort of thing from Paul McGann as well would be quite cool. What should I do, Megan? I've forgotten what I was supposed to do a video on, because I talk so fast. I know, I'm sorry, Megan. I just get excited about Doctor Who and talk way too quickly. I skipped your question. I'm sorry, Arav. I do apologise. There are only so many songs I want to hear in Doctor Who. Yeah, there'll be some very cool ones. Genuinely do it. Please remind me what you said yes please, and genuinely do it too, because I've genuinely forgotten what video I was going to do on there. Reissue season 12 was 38 quid on Amazon. That's really quite impressive. It was create an Instagram account. Okay, yes, I'll create a Doctor Who Instagram account. Of course I will. Goodbye, Joe Horrell. Thank you very much for joining me on this Magical Mysteries tour. If the Master had been the Timeless Child, it might have explained how the first Doctor didn't really seem to know him, even though they were at the Academy together. Might have suggested that the Master's backstory was invented retrospectively. Ha! Indeed, it might suggest that. I mean, let's be realistic. Every major character in Doctor Who, most of their backstories have been invented retrospectively rather than initially. So, and I agree. Maybe that could have explained things better. If we do get a new showrunner Arthur Chibnall, would it be for the best if it was someone who had worked on the show before, or go with someone completely new and unheard of? That's a really good question. I think that maybe the right thing for the next showrunner of Doctor Who would be to have somebody who is an excellent TV showrunner but doesn't have a particular affinity to Doctor Who, and isn't just a fan who's going to come in and write fan fiction into an episode, like to an extent The Timeless Children is. And Moffat did it as well, certainly in some of the Capaldi era, he did do a bit of that. Like, there's no denying that. And I think that's just naturally going to happen at points when you have somebody writing the program who is so much of a fan of the program, has been watching it since they were a child. Chris is obviously on shows criticising Trial of a Time Lord back in 1986, for example, on TV. I'm sure he terribly regrets that nowadays. But yeah, I feel like it would be good to have somebody who's an excellent showrunner and an excellent sort of lead writer on a program, but isn't necessarily a huge, maybe knows a bit about it, but isn't a huge fan, so can just write excellent TV that's sci-fi and drama orientated kind of in equal measure. Have a production team and a continuity team who can help him with some of the more interesting Doctor Who-y ideas, but keep it reasonably kind of mainstream and more easy for a general casual audience to engage in, but not in the way season 11 did it, because that was terrible and didn't work at all, and I don't know why Chris decided to do that personally. So what would you think if Jodie Whittaker broke the Patrick Troughton rule and made it to Series 14? I wouldn't mind. I quite like her as a Doctor. I think it'd be quite good. I mentioned earlier I don't think it's going to happen because realistically it's going to be 4 years before we get a Series 14, and I cannot see that Jodie Whittaker's still going to be the Doctor in 4 years' time, personally, and she would have then been, since announcement, been the Doctor for 7 years, which I just can't believe is going to happen. What was your first date with Megan like? It was good. Megan, why don't you tell us more about our first date in the comments, because I've got lots of other questions to answer. So why didn't you answer that one? I pre-ordered the Series 12 soundtrack, can't wait to listen to it. Do you think it's a really good soundtrack, definitely worth a listen. Do you think the hybrid was the Cyber Time Lords in the Ruins of Gallifrey that 12 was talking about? That's what I'm not going into because Capaldi era. Do you think they'll bring back David Bradley as the first Doctor to address him being the first-ish Doctor and what happened prior to him? Maybe. And yes, great. I'm really enjoying videos, Paul Android. It's brilliant. Clara's theme when, yes, again, we're not talking about the 12th Doctor and the Peter Capaldi era too much, so I might just, Megan's probably already seen it, but I can go to people's channels on here. Cool, that's good. Don't apologise for being behind with the comments at it. You're one person reading. We are as many voices, indeed. It was nice to see the song Four Knocks back in Time of the Doctor. Yes, Four Knocks being used in Time of the Doctor was a great musical moment, to be fair, and bringing that back. I love the ELO songs in Doctor Who, should be more, though no more pavement slabs. Indeed, loved Monsters, not the greatest story ever. What would you think to a story where the Doctor and friends met Freddie Mercury and Queen with Bohemian Rhapsody? Their popularity has skyrocketed recently, so I think such a story would be potential. Yeah, it's interesting. The Doctor's never really met any particularly famous singers in Doctor Who, like, that are actually being the singer. Obviously, we've had Kylie Minogue, but she wasn't playing a singer in Doctor Who, and she's quite famous, but... so maybe having some sort of thing around that might be quite an interesting storyline to tell. Maybe if Doctor Who did a musical, possibly, I guess. Doctor Who kind of did it with Gunfighters to an extent, and obviously did it with some of the audio adventures as well. I lose my train of thought here. So maybe Doctor Who should do a musical. Do you think we should? Megan sent a nice comment there, so go read it, guys. Our first date was at Pizza Express. It was cute. We're both really awkward. Lol, he took me on a cute walk through the forest and we watched the trains, and it was very romantic. It was indeed. What is this E-name thing everybody keeps talking about? So basically, DW Sibling, who started it, basically commented on my Megan Reacts. I think mainly Megan Reacts because they didn't know my name, and just gave random names beginning with E. And chose a different name beginning with E in each video, and it became a bit of a kind of mini meme on my channel of people just posting incorrect spellings of my name or random other names beginning with E that weren't my real name. So that's the interesting thing behind that. Paul Android asks, do you think we'll ever get a Series 10 soundtrack? Well, that's an interesting one. So I can give you guys a little insight into some information that's not really helpful, but is worth knowing. As part of my course at university, a guy called Jake Jackson came to do some talks at my university, and he was the recording engineer and sort of mixing engineer on Doctor Who from Series 3 to Series 10 with Murray Gold. He was kind of the main man working with Murray Gold on getting the music together and mixed into the episodes and working correctly. And I had a chat with him about it and basically did ask him, do you know anything about the Series 10 soundtrack? And he basically said no, and I got the impression he didn't really know that there hadn't been one that had been one that wasn't released. He mentioned that he might try and ask Murray when he next sees him about it. It's not really the sort of thing I'm going to go back and ask him again about, because I don't want to be that person. But I did ask the question, and he sort of said he wasn't quite so sure, and that he would try and ask Murray Gold about it when he next saw him. Whether he ever does, Who knows? He'll probably forget. But I try my best to do that. Ultimately, I think it's unlikely we'll ever get a Series 10 soundtrack now, given that it's been a while since the series aired. I know we waited a long time for Series 9, but given how far away Murray is from the program as well, it just doesn't seem the sort of thing that that he's going to realistically carry on, that he's going to be released in the future. So we can be hopeful, but I'm also not fully convinced that it's going to happen, unfortunately. You said about the 60s, 70s being a favourite era, but what are your thoughts on 80s Who? Thank you, Ben. 80s Who is something I've never seen enough of to be able to give a good comment and opinion on. As some of you know, I'm currently doing Doctor Who Marathon all the way from the beginning of the show. I'm not doing it very quickly because I started on like the 2nd of January 2018 with An Unearthly Child, and my last story I've watched was Robot the last week. So I've still got a little way to go. And so once I have eventually, hopefully in the next 2 to 3 years, watched the whole of Classic Who, I'll be able to give some more rounded opinions on the 80s in general. I just simply have not seen, I think I've only seen 3 out of 12 stories from McCoy. I've seen about half of Colin's stories and maybe a third of Peter Davison's stories, so I just cannot give a good opinion on the 82 in general, unfortunately, yet. I know that generally it's probably the least revered of the classic era, but it's something I'm very open to, and once I get around to watching that part for the very first time, it's something I can hopefully give some more opinions on and do lots of videos on as well. Right, he's met Stevie Wonder. Just don't tell him. Oh yeah, that's very true. Oh, that song in Gunfighters always cracks me up indeed. The okay, Corral. I'm not going to sing for you guys. Yeah, that was an interesting episode. Maybe me and Megan will react to the Gunfighter sometime. That one time Doctor Who basically did a musical, I think, is the sort of episode me and Megan should watch, isn't it? Even if it's in black and white and from 1966 or 5, I think 66. And yes, it was nearly 2 years since me and Megan met. Whee! Suggestion for a Doctor Who musical, The Tuneless Children. It's quite a good title. I like that. I absolutely love Together and Alone from Disc 2 of the Series 12 soundtrack. Gabriella's theme is unique and so catchy. Have it on repeat. Wish it was longer. I agree. It's a musical highlight worth checking out there when the Series 12 soundtrack comes around. Is the little Gabriella's theme that's included. That's initially kind of like the little almost vlog intro music that's used early in the episode and then is also repeated in another one of the tracks on the soundtrack. And it's a really, really good piece of music and I really do enjoy that. Thank you for shouting that out, Spider Dalek. I'm all right for now. I think I will stay on till probably 6:45, 7 o'clock. So if you guys want to get in touch with me, please do it in the next half an hour. If you've really got a message you want to send, then please do it soon because I'm only going to be around for another half an hour. But is this the sort of thing you would like to see me do more often? I was possibly considering, at least while we're in lockdown and I have nothing else to do, of doing weekly streams every Sunday evening around this sort of time for a couple of hours just to have a general chit chat about Doctor Who and answer your questions, as you guys have been doing today. It's been real good fun. I might try and think of some more general themes to be able to talk about in relation to Doctor Who. It's going to be Doctor Who, but sort of more specifically. So yeah, let me know. Do you want me to do weekly Doctor Who live streams on my channel on a Sunday evening? Let me know in the chat. Right, if everybody gives you names starting with D, has anybody named you Elton? I think somebody did at some point. Yes, it was quite funny, but I think they did. Can this become a weekly thing? Lara, I love your streams. Well, there we go. I certainly want to make it a weekly thing. Since I'm writing a series of 13th Doctor novels, I have a 2-part story planned where they meet Freddie Mercury and Queen. The Carry-Nights are also involved. That sounds quite interesting. It's a shame they've not been seen since the Shakespeare Code. Yeah, they're the sort of villain that I think probably could come back to Doctor Who at some point in the future. That could be something quite interesting, I think, really. Man, you should so watch the Sixth Doctor. Maybe not the best production, but certainly one of the best actors in the role. Well, I have seen all of Trial of a Time Lord, and I'm actually quite a fan of Trial of a Time Lord. I'm not going to say it's perfect, but I do think it's got a lot of interesting things in there that are actually quite good. I do like the whole Valeyard storyline. I think that's quite interesting. And just having that sort of trial setting, the Doctor being put on trial, I think works to an extent. And then the shock reveal towards the end of the story, of course, as well, about various things. Probably Terror of the Vervoids is the best individual story in there. I do quite like Mind Warp as well, but that's probably the best of the lot. And it does kind of, Ultimate Foe is not great. But yeah, I think that in general, the Sixth Doctor era is not one that I particularly dislike. And as I say, I've seen about half of it and I enjoyed a lot of what I saw from that. Right. Have you seen the 5th anniversary proms? Well, asking Megan, I think, but I have seen it certainly. Wow, we've caught up to all the comments and we've still got 25 people watching after an hour and 15 minutes. Oh no, it's gone down to 20. That's a bit sad. As soon as I say that, 4 people left the live stream. How sad is that? Oh dear, I'm opening things by accident here. I think you or Megan should subscribe to me in honor of creating the e-names. Sure, I'll give you a subscribe. Why not? How can I get onto your channel? Let's see if I can get onto your channel, DW Siebling. If I can open your channel, I will come and give you a subscribe. Because why not? It's good fun. Let's do it. Stop trying to open stuff on there. Ding, ding, ding. There you go. I have sent you a subscribe. This is exciting, isn't it? Right. That's that. Even the Sycorax should return. Yeah, I don't know. They could be quite interesting as a returning villain, I think. I don't know what quite more you do with them. They were a really good villain for the first episode of David Tennant, but I don't know if they've necessarily got that much to give in terms of coming back to the show. I don't know, maybe not. But I think there's a lot of ones that you could say could come back with the right story idea, but some of them just don't lend themselves to a different type of story. But yeah, it's always worth thinking about. I'm not a huge fan of Victory of the Daleks, but I loved your and Megan's reaction to it. The bit that made me laugh was the time between Megan talking and the Daleks responding to the Doctor. Yes, there's always some good timing moments sometimes when we Megan or me shares our little thoughts in the reactions. It can always work out quite funnily and entertainingly, I think, sometimes. So that's always yeah. And I'm glad people have been enjoying the Megan reacts as well. It's always been good fun to edit those and see all your guys' comments and responses to it as well. It's always been really fun. Favorite series soundtrack. So if we're talking about the pure soundtrack release, I would probably say this is kind of cheating, but the specials, because of The Waters of Mars and The End of Time, which are two of my favourite scores to Doctor Who episodes there's ever been. I mean, it's so hard to pick because I love Series 1 and 2, I love Series 3, I love Series 4, I love Series 5. Series 6 and 7, it's not so great. Series 8 is really good, Series 9 is really good. And actually Series 12 I've really, really enjoyed as well, having listened to that. I think it's really is a highlight in terms of a soundtrack release. So yeah, there's too many to choose from, quite frankly. It's just too difficult. After Fury from the Deep, which classic Who story would you want to see animated? Personally, would love to see either Daleks Master Plan or Evil of the Daleks. I'm really looking forward to Fury from the Deep when that eventually comes out. I think that should be a really, really good animation. It's a story that I tried to watch with the recons, but I just couldn't really engage with it enough, unfortunately, because it was 6 missing episodes of recons that weren't that great. But hopefully it'll be a lot better on animation. In terms of stories I'd like to see, I would like to see Evil of the Daleks. I think that would be really, really good. Just some First Doctor with animations would be quite cool as well, I think, because we haven't really had any of those in this new era of animations. We've obviously had Power of the Daleks, Sharda, the Microterror, the Faceless Ones. Am I forgetting any? No, I don't think so. And then Fury from the Deep coming soon. So it would be nice to have some First Doctor ones. Dalek Master Plan is the biggest one, but also probably the most famous one. Maybe they'd have to split it into 2 releases because it's a 12-parter. I don't know. Maybe that's not a possibility. But yeah, somebody should do a video of Elton John's Benny and the Jets featuring footage of all 55. That could be quite funny, I think. Yeah, that could be quite good. Megan said, uh-oh, that can't be good. And the Dalek said, correct. Oh, brilliant. Of course, the Dalek was responding to the Doctor, but the time made it sound like the Dalek was talking to Megan. Yes, there can be some good moments like that. If we say the right thing at the right time, it can be really quite entertaining. Who's my favourite incarnation of the Master? It's either Roger Delgado or Sacha Dhawan, I think, because Delgado is one I've always loved in terms of his really suave, the suave master that's so kind of evil and maniacal, but in such a calm and sinister way. Him sitting in the back of the sort of car in Mind of Evil is such an iconic shot, I think, of his master, his incarnation lost. He's just one I've always really, really enjoyed. But I also think the Sacha Dhawan master did a great job of that in Series 12, in just being that element of crazy that we've seen in some of the recent masters, but also being able to rein that in moments and play it a bit serious as well. He's kind of bonkers, but in the best possible way, I think. And so it really clicks with me. So I'd probably say it's between those two. Right, what else have we got? Would you like some tea? Maybe later. But obviously, yes, it's a quote from Victory of the Daleks. Also, I absolutely howled with laughter at Megan calling the Paradigm Supreme a snaz boy. Indeed, she does. In all seriousness, I actually really like the Paradigm Daleks, and I'm always happy to meet people who like the Paradigm Daleks. Yeah, I think the Paradigm Daleks are all right. We don't really know what some of them ever did, but it doesn't matter. They're still quite a cool idea that I think could have been explored more interestingly if they'd wanted to. Maybe the design themselves wasn't perfect, but I think that the actual idea behind having these different types of Daleks for different purposes, if that had been explored more in more episodes, could have been really quite interesting, personally. Jacoby and the audience is really good as Master. That's true. Yeah, I should listen to more of the Big Finish audios of Derek Jacoby. That would actually be really good. What unreleased tracks do you think really should have been released? That's a tricky one. I think that the famous unreleased track Don't clearly should have been released at some points. The music to the War Doctor reveal at the end of the Name of the Doctor definitely should have been released. off the top of my head, what other ones can I think of? I mean, a lot of Series 1 and 2, there's a lot of tracks there that weren't released because they didn't do a proper soundtrack release. I mean, there's a lot of stuff around Series 1 and 2, of course, because Series 1 and 2, the original music in the episodes wasn't recorded as an orchestra. It was lots of musical stems that were put together. And lots of computer-generated stuff and things like that, rather than an actual orchestra. Although the soundtrack release that we can listen to was an orchestral re-recording of those original pieces that were created with pre-recorded musical stems. So it means that there isn't anything officially released from the original soundtracks themselves of the original episodes for Series 1 and 2. That is all stuff that's been redone for the soundtrack. Which is interesting. I mean, there is some stuff doing the rounds on the internet that I've found that has sort of cleaner versions of some of that old stuff, and there are some really good pieces of music in there. So probably Series 1 and 2 in general, there's just a lot missing. Really, I think is the big thing. What else have we got here? You've said once that Heaven Sent was the greatest episode of the show ever. What is your least favorite episode, or just one that you were the most disappointed by? Whew, my most disappointing episode. That is I'm a very positive Doctor Who fan, as most of you probably know. Generally, I don't like to kind of say an episode is awful, an episode is irredeemable, or an episode is terrible. I always like to try and find positive things. I'll say an episode is bad if it is, like Orphan 55 was bad. It really wasn't very good. But it's not offensively bad and destroying the show bad. Like that I don't see any episode in Doctor Who as like that, personally. I mean, I've never enjoyed The Doctor, the Within the Wardrobe particularly. Sleep No More is not very good. Fear Her is particularly just doesn't do it for me at all. So probably episodes like that I'd put right down there. And yeah, Power of the Daleks did Victory of the Daleks did have a nod to Power of the Daleks indeed. What are your views about the clothes the Time Lord near the barn while wearing a hellbent? We won't go into that because for obvious reasons. What are some of your guilty pleasure episodes? Invasion of Time from the classic series is probably my guilty pleasure episode number 1, because I always enjoyed Time Lord stories. Sontarans turning up randomly halfway through a Time Lord Gallifrey story and then spending 2 episodes running around the inside of the TARDIS. It's wacky, but I love it. So that's probably my one. I actually had some input on being included on the Series 6 soundtrack, and Majestic Tale, and it's mentioned in the booklet when Mary talks about being told it wasn't. Yes, indeed. Majestic Tale got put onto the Series 6 soundtrack because everybody complained about it, which is really good to see. That it could make a difference. I mean, ultimately, that's the only time it's ever happened, but it was great that one time it did actually happen. There's a Class Fandom rewatch of episode 1 at 8 p.m. tonight. You can use the #ClassTW for joining in. I probably won't. I do like Class. I just need to have a rest after this, quite frankly. As fun as it is, it's also quite tiring. But yeah, Class is a good program. It's not that bad. Go check out my reviews of it I did when it aired. They're hopefully still interesting. I don't know. They might be awful now. I really don't know. I actually really loved the uses of Androdae's Rise Up and Rosa. It just seemed to really work. I even liked her. Yeah, I agree. That piece of music did actually work really effectively within the episode. I think it was a dramatic use of a pop song that worked really, really well. I thought that really worked. Spider Dalek, the Darwin team in Cardiff have the original sampled music in archive. War Doctor music is out there. The Amy's Choice music version is released thanks to a rip of the Eternity Clock game files. Lol. Indeed, I have that version of it, I think, somewhere, but it's a really low quality one. And yeah, it's true. In an archive somewhere is all the music from Doctor Who ever that is clean. The original files, they're never going to go anywhere. They're just going to sit in the BBC archives, which is really sad when you think about it, that they are just going to sit in the BBC archives forever, and probably never get a release unless maybe New Who gets a re-release on the collection Blu-rays, and Mark Ayres does some stuff with the music, but then I can't see him doing isolated soundtracks because surely we should have to pay for those. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on that. Also, I'm not trying to be mean to Megan, but she's really cute when she's scared, and you should always know it's scary when she has her infamous orange cushions. Indeed, the orange cushions, should we do some merchandise, because the orange cushions are quite famous in my reactions now, I think it's fair to say. Yeah, right, I think, guys, I'm sorry it's a little bit earlier than planned, but I think I'm going to leave it there because I need a rest. I need to have something to eat now. But this has been really fun. We've been here for like an hour and 20 minutes. Apart from me getting copyright blocked for my voice, I'm pretty sure didn't do anything else there, but apparently that happened, which is a real shame. But there we go. We got it back in the end. And thank you for all you guys who have watched it. If you've been here since like the start, wow, I don't know why you've done this to yourself. But even if you just popped in for a little bit, thank you. It's been great fun. I will do this again, definitely. Hopefully next Sunday again, if you guys want to see it. Should Megan be in the next live stream? That's the big question. Indeed, should Megan be in the next live stream? I could probably try and get Megan in some form in the next live stream. We'll see if we can do that for next week, or maybe the week after if you'd like to see that. And maybe I will do a Doctor Who Instagram account in the very near future as well, because that seems to be quite something that you guys want. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this stream. As always, you know I've got to finish with the generic ending to my stream, but yes, I will be back this time next week for a brand new stream, hopefully, and I'm hoping to be doing daily videos again throughout this week, so lots more for you guys to enjoy between now and then. But thank you much for all your messages and your comments, and I will see you again very soon for our brand new stream and videos. Goodbye, everybody. If I can close